EVA is a third-party tool that we are working on. There's a company that's based out of Seattle, Aurelian is the name of the company, and they specialize in handling non-emergency calls using AI. We were basically working out of a staffing crisis the last year. Last summer when I started here as the director, we had 6 full-time dispatchers, and recruiting has been, priority one. We're budgeted for 17. We're fortunately at 17 today, but it takes a long time to train up a dispatcher. And when we started, crunching the numbers and looking at things like, hey, how do we dig out of this? How do we continue to provide a good level of service to the community? We absolutely had to consider implementing technology versus just more staff. I'll show you too, the room over there is limited to just 5 seats. And so even if we wanted to, we just physically cannot pack that room. So yeah, here comes AI and technology. Definitely a scary thought initially. However, there have been other 911 centers that do similar work that we do in the state of Washington. Moses Lake is one of them. They did a presentation on the tool and how they implemented it and how they use it in their county. And largely was very successful. And so, yeah, we evaluated it, and we felt that the dispatchers themselves, took a look at it, and they're like, yeah, this would be good. So to put that into kind of context, 95,000 times a year the phones ring in that room. And of the 95,000 times, about 60% of those calls are actually non-emergency calls. There are things that are important in the community, and we want to be able to, we want to be able to answer those. We want to be able to provide a good level of service. But the same people who are answering the 911 calls are also answering the non-emergency calls, and they're also staffing the radio, and so yeah, when you boil it all down, per shift, I have 3 people that are trained and capable of answering 911 calls, non-emergency calls, and dispatching for fire, law, and EMS for the entire county. So that's 9 fire districts and 4 law enforcement agencies. 60% of the call load being non-emergency really started to tax our ability to be proficient, efficient, and essentially safe with the emergency side of the house. So yeah, we said we've got to do something different with the non-emergency work. Here comes EVA. So essentially what happens is you dial the non-emergency number, 360-426-4441. You're going to be greeted by EVA. Tell EVA what your issues are. It's designed, we have what are called call routes that we have the ability to modify and adjust on the fly. Those call routes can be anything from, hey, there's an abandoned vehicle in my neighborhood that somebody needs to go check on. And EVA will ask a series of questions that are pertinent for us to import a call for service.
You've reached Mason County's non-emergency line. My name is Eva. How can I help you?
I need to report an abandoned vehicle.
Is the vehicle blocking traffic?
No.
Is the vehicle located along a highway or a state route?
No.
Is the vehicle on private property or public property?
Public city road.
Is the vehicle operable?
I don't know.
What is the address where the vehicle is located? If you do not know the exact address, please provide the nearest location.
5.
And then basically once EVA gets done with the line of questioning, the dispatchers will see up on their screen, hey, there's a new non-emergency call. Here's the contents of the call. They can go back, review the transcript. It provides a really nice written transcript of what the dialogue was between EVA and the caller, and also all the audio recording. So they can re-listen to everything, because sometimes AI does not interpret, especially some of our road names, our community names and things like that, doesn't always interpret that perfectly. We do have the ability to go and kind of adjust that. So when we start hearing the mispronounced street names or road names, that sort of thing, we do go in and make a modification to kind of phonetically be able to communicate that back in the community. So it does feel more like yeah, more like an actual human from the community answering the call. Yeah, and then so from there, the dispatchers are able to create a call for service if it warrants it. The other piece is we populate the application with other agency information as well. So it's not just collect and dump it into a database and then dispatchers dispatch from there. Yeah, if there are questions about really anything we can throw in there. If callers call us and they want to know the phone number for another agency, AI can provide that to them, right? Versus what would happen now or in the past is, yeah, the caller would call and that would interrupt the dispatcher potentially on a 911 call or communicating with an officer or firefighter on the radio. So they kind of have to drop what they're doing, take care of the next call. There was really no call flow or management. It was just as they rang, they got answered. And so, now it's just a little bit more organized. It's a little less stressful. It takes sort of cools the temperature of the room down a little bit, especially when the volume really kicks up. And we also have the ability to kind of switch it into emergency mode. And so, yeah, if we had another big fire event or something and we were providing evacuation information or shelter location information or, even small things like, hey, Oyster Fest is coming up. Right. What are the hours of Oyster Fest? Where's parking? We could populate that with all the content and, hey, here's the link to Oyster Fest website. The caller gets a nice text message back. Here's the link. They can click it and go from there. So it just, I think, helps us provide a much better level of service on that front.
So, you mentioned big event, Tunerville was a huge event.
Yeah.
And you've got fire crews out there. What was the volume like during that event?
Yeah, I think one example, when we were managing the fire, the initial call volume from the fire, we were pretty well handling that. The second that it became an urban interface threat and we had to start evacuating areas is when it almost completely shut us down. It's not a common thing that happens in our community. And when it does, rightfully so, it worries a lot of people. With all emergency services, we're all basically minimally staffed across the county. We don't have the resources to necessarily go around and educate and explain in the time. Deputies were going door to door telling people to evacuate. People in the area were hearing about this and they were calling us on non-emergency. The average dispatcher answered anywhere from 100 to 250 calls in a couple of hours. And when you think about that, yes, they answered 200 calls, but a lot of people were not getting the information they probably should have been getting. Just because we were having to hammer through and keep the lines open because 911s were still coming in for other things in the community. And then also we were trying to coordinate fire resources and mobilization of that with the first responders in the field. And yeah, very, very taxing on us. Now, in the future with an application like this, number one, I'm not inundating the available lines that come into the facility anymore. It's being pushed off to a scalable data center. So we could go from one line to hundreds if we needed to. Never have had that capability here. And again, we can start populating that with, hey, level 3 evacuations in this neighborhood. So if they have questions specific, they'll start getting that information from AI. And again, versus tying up the call receiver and dispatcher.